Hi everyone, welcome to Smack Reviews. If you love our honest reviews, smack that subscribe button so you never miss out.
It's crazy how time flies. In September of 2021, the first season of Squid Game premiered, and unless you don't use the internet or live under a rock, there was just no way you didn't know about it. This came out right before Halloween of that same year, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw people dressed up as pink soldiers or the green outfits that the contestants wore. While I didn't think the first season was perfect by any means, there's no doubt it garnered so much hype and attention that this show needed to continue, even though season 1 was meant to be the only season. And now, after waiting for so long, season 2 is finally here, and I'm happy to say that it's worth the watch. While we'll try our best not to spoil too much of what happens, I feel Squid Game is one of those shows that's hard to talk about without revealing some spoilers, so we'll try our best not to spoil too much. So first things first, what is season 2 of Squid Game actually about? At the end of season 1, the main character Guillaume was about to board an airplane out of the country to try and forget about the games and enjoy his winnings, but the last second decided not to board it. Season 2 picks up immediately from this scene. Guillaume clearly makes it his goal to not only stop the frontman, but to put an end to the games once and for all. With his winnings, he spends the next 2 years trying to locate the man that originally recruited him, since he believes finding that man will give him a clue as to where the games are held. We also see Huang Juno, who was the detective that infiltrated the games. He survived and wound up in a hospital. A boatman named Captain Park found him floating out at sea and rescued him. Since then, they've developed a friendship, and during the past 2 years have been going out to sea to try and locate the island where the games are held, but to no avail. Throughout the first 2 episodes, we're also introduced to a variety of other characters who will eventually take part in the game in some way or another. One thing I do want to mention is that there are a total of 7 episodes this season, and the games don't start until episode 3. For some people, I believe, will find this incredibly disappointing, since in the previous season we got to see the games begin on the first episode. Especially if you're someone that only really cares about watching the game, it is a little bit of a disappointment. Eventually, Guillaume ends up forced to play once again, but this time with a new twist. If you recall, in the previous season, right after they finished the first game, if the majority voted to end the game, then they would go home. But the vote only happened once. This time, the vote occurs after the conclusion of every game, so the games could be put to an end after the first game, second game, etc., which I felt made the story more compelling as we see how characters evolve, their attitudes regarding the game, and how some characters react to how others voted. After a player votes, they're given a patch to wear so you can tell how they voted. We see some people vote the same while others occasionally change their vote, and it's easy to see why. Some people would of course want to stop because they don't want to die, while you'll have some greedy people who want to continue and say to themselves, just one more. But then when it's time to vote again, they also think, I survived this round, I think I'll survive the next one, so just one more, until it's too late. The rest of the season didn't play out the way I expected it to, and I thoroughly enjoyed how different this season was compared to the previous one. Since Squid Game was supposed to be just one season, the writers definitely wanted it to be different and not just more of the same. While there were some elements that were reused, like the special round for instance, it was all done in such a way that kept the story fresh, and I appreciate this season even more because they could have been lazy and easily kept the same formula, but they didn't. One thing I was worried about headed into this new season were the dynamics of the new cast of players. Of all the new 456 players, Guillaume would of course be the only recurring character, and I really did love the cast from the previous season. Especially Ollie. He didn't deserve to die. The first season had a terrific cast and memorable characters, and I'm happy to say that this season did as well. While I do feel that they aren't as developed and just not as good as their season 1 counterparts, the new contestants are also memorable in their own way. The one contestant who I thought stood out the most this season was Thanos. He was meant to be the villain this season, but he was likable and goofy. Thanos was a rapper who lost all his money investing in a crypto coin because another contestant promised him that the coin would go to the moon. He was comical at the craziest times and was high most of the time. The other contestants would be in peril and he would be dancing and laughing at the worst times. The other contestants that I liked were the mom and son duo. I loved how the mom cared a lot about her son's well-being. She also cared about the well-being of some of the other contestants too. There were times when I thought the son was going to betray his mother, but he stayed true to who he was and remained a good son for the sake of his mother throughout this season. Now when it comes to the games, this is where I was disappointed the most. The games this season were different except for the first one, which I can appreciate since it would have been repetitive seeing all the exact same games happen again. Like I've said previously, it took until the 3rd episode to witness the start of the games, and it was just red light and green light again, which I didn't have a problem with. We got to witness two new games, which were a race consisting of 5 minigames you had to complete within 5 minutes, and a room with a carousel in the middle, and you needed to quickly form groups based on the number announced. But that was it, unfortunately. We only got to see 3 games, and only 2 of them were new. There's also the matter of intensity. I thought all the games played in the first season felt extremely intense, but I didn't get that same feeling from any of the games played in Season 2, except for maybe the carousel game. The overall intensity just isn't there for me, but it's probably because there's not as much of a shock factor to it, since this is the second season after all. But I do hope that the remaining games in Season 3 will increase the tension to feel just like how the games in Season 1 felt. It's unfortunate that Season 2 isn't its own standalone story like Season 1 was, since Season 2 ended on a cliffhanger and Season 3 is supposed to be more like Part 2 of Season 2. It's obvious that they want to stretch this out since Squid Game Season 2 is doing so well that it's literally the #1 show in all countries where Netflix is available, and this is the only Netflix show that has done this and is most likely the only one that'll ever achieve this, at least for a long time. I'm pretty sure they've gotten a big boost in subscriptions and in Season 3 will help boost it even more.
I do feel that Squid Game Season 2 is worth the watch, and it is a little annoying that it ended on a cliffhanger, but they have already announced that Season 3 will be released in 2025, so we don't have to wait another 3 years. I have high hopes that Season 3 will bring Squid Game to an overall satisfying conclusion. If you haven't seen Season 2 or even Season 1, I do think this show is worth watching, and while you might be disappointed with the way Season 2 ends, like I was, it shouldn't take away from the fact that this show is worth your time. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye!